Brownies are a lovable dessert for all. The chocolatey goodness is loved by many, and the recipe has changed a lot over the years. Today we're going to learn how to make a 3-layered brownie that the media has labeled as slutty brownies. I made this treat a numerous of times, and it's to die for. I got the recipe from justsotasty.com on Pinterest, and I have also spent time researching the topic. According to the nibble, the exact way that brownies was invented is unknown, but there are many theories on how it came to be that are all extremely different. One is creating it by mistake, and the other were on purpose. We're going to start with the ingredients. Some of the basic ingredients are flour, eggs, and Oreos. Next, we're going to go over how to do the mixing and how to mix the dry and the wet ingredients together. Finally, we're going to talk about how the baking and the temperature of the oven. In this speech, we're going to talk about the history of brownies, the ingredients, and how to make. According to the nibble, there are multiple theories on how brownies came to be. The likely origin is in the early 20th century in Boston. Some theories are that the farmer wanted to edit her cookies into a square-shaped pan. Another story is that they accidentally added chocolate to their biscuits. A cook forgot to add baking powder or didn't have enough flour for their chocolate cakes. Even with all these theories, we really know is that the first recipe was presented in a cookbook in 1906. The very first brownie wasn't even made with chocolate at all, but with molasses. The name brownies came from an elfin character featured in the popular book stories and cartoons and verses at the time by Palmer Cox. Even with the recipe for the brownie keeps changing, with many more cakey, fudgy, and even different flavors, slutty brownies were actually created by a girl named Amanda. They were originally called cookie dough Oreo brownies, but the media changed the name to slutty brownies because of how sweet they were in the many layers. Even though we aren't sure who exactly created the brownies, the recipe is still changing to this day. Now we're going to go through the ingredients for each layer. For the cookie layer, you're going to need 1 cup of unsalted melted butter, 3/4 cups of brown sugar, 3/4 cups of white sugar, 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 1/4 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and lastly 1 1/4 cups of chocolate chips. Next, we're going to do the Oreo layer, which all you need is 24 double stuffed Oreos. Lastly, for the brownie layer, you're going to need 2/3 cups of unsalted butter cubed, 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips, mini ones, 1 1/2 cups of white sugar, 3 large eggs, 1/2 cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder, and lastly, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. There are many ingredients to keep track of, but it's important that each is measured out carefully because they impact the flavor in different ways. These could make or break your brownies. To start off, we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Then you're going to take a 9x13-inch pan and spray it with non-stick cooking spray. You're going to want to make sure you get all the corners and all the way down so that it doesn't stick. To mix the brownies, you're going to want to have 2 separate bowls for each layer. For the cookie layers, you're going to start off by beating the melted butter and brown sugar and white sugar. For the melted butter, you're going to want to make sure you use 2 sticks of butter and cut it in cubes like so. And then you'll put it in the bowl and microwave them for 45-second intervals. You're going to want to make sure you do it this way so that your butter doesn't explode. Alright, so to beat in the butter and the sugar, here's your 1 cup of butter, 3/4 cup of white sugar, and 3/4 cups of brown sugar. You're going to go ahead and mix that all together like so. Next, you're going to add in the egg and the vanilla extract. So you have your 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and your 2 large eggs. And then you're going to mix them together. Like so. Next, you're going to put in the flour and the salt. Now you have your 2/4 cups of flour and your 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now with this, I suggest using a metal whisk because it's a lot thicker. And you can either hand mix it or use a mixer at medium speed. And just stir that in, starting really slow so that the flour doesn't go everywhere until it's at a nice texture. At the end, your dough should look like this, and there shouldn't be any clumps. You're going to take the whisk off at the side and grab your chocolate chip. So with your chocolate chips, you're going to put in 1 1/4 cup, and you're going to want to mix it in with a spatula. So you're going to go around the sides and kind of fold it in like so until it's all nice and mixed. Like so. Then you're gonna go get your brownie pan and dump it out and level it out. So once you dump out all your cookie, you're gonna just take the spatula and just kind of even it out as much as possible. And make sure you get in all the crevices and corners. Shake it a little bit. So now we're going to do the Oreo layer. So you're going to it's going to take about 24 double stuffed Oreos. So it's about a pack. And all you're going to do is take your Oreos and set them down in a row and just push down gently. All the way across the pan. Once you get to the bottom row and it's kind of hard to fit a full Oreo, what I like to do is break them in half to make sure that you have an Oreo in every bite. Like so. Take some around the corners too. There you go. Now it should look like that. Now we're going to start on the brownie layer and put this to the side. Now that you have your new bowl for your brownies, you're going to take 2/3 cups of unsalted butter and 8 ounces or 1 cup of mini chocolate chips. You're going to mix them in a bowl and you're going to melt them together in the microwave. And you put them in for 45-second intervals and mix them together to make sure that the chocolate doesn't burn, because chocolate burns easily in the microwave. When you're done microwaving it, it should look something like this. So now in a separate bowl, you're going to whisk together the eggs and the sugar. So you're going to take 3 large eggs and 1 1/2 cups of white sugar. And whisk them together with a rubber whisk. It should look something like this. Then you're going to whisk in the chocolate mixture that you just melted in with the sugar and the eggs. Like so. Then you're going to fold in the cocoa powder, the flour, and salt with a rubber spatula. So you're going to take 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, a half a cup of flour, and a half of a teaspoon of salt. Then you're going to take your whisk and you're going to go around the edges and pull it in the middle. Like so. And getting faster as you go. When you're done mixing this, it should have no bubbles and no lumps. Like that. Scrape off the edges, and now you're going to pour this over your cookies and Oreo. You're going to get the pan, and you're going to go ahead and dump it out. Evenly, and use your spatula to get it out around the edges. Once you're finished with that, just like the cookies, you're going to go ahead and use the spatula and make sure that you cover everything evenly from corner to corner and that all the Oreos are covered. So, now for the fun part. So you're going to go ahead and put these in the oven and bake them for 50 to 55 minutes. I usually do something somewhere around the middle of 53 minutes. While you're waiting for your brownies to be done, this is a great time to clean up your station and get your dishes done. Now that your delicious treat is out of the oven, it should look like this. You're going to go ahead and leave it in the fridge for 2 hours. That way that they could cut out smoothly. In conclusion, there is a mysterious history behind these delicious treats. According to the nibble, the original inventor of the brownie is unknown, but that doesn't mean that the recipe hasn't changed over the years. According to Pinterest users, Just So Tasty, she talked about how the creation of slutty brownies was created by a woman named Amanda. There are many things that go into brownies that people don't always think about. There's many ingredients that are involved with each layer, but there's a very specific amount, and you must make sure that you correctly mix everything so that it comes out correctly. In this speech, we spoke about the history of brownies, the ingredients, and how to mix them and bake them. A farmer wanted to edit her cookies into a square-shaped pan. Another story is that they accidentally added chocolate to their biscuit, and a cook forgot to add baking powder or didn't have enough flour for their chocolate cakes. Even with all these theories, all we really know is that the first recipe was presented in a cookbook in 1906. Even with the complete history and special ingredients, these brownies are fun to make and a delicious treat for the whole family.